I'm alive and fully mustached. Full on mustache. No one is here to admire my mustache. How very sad. 1, 2. Oh yeah, people are coming in, hanging out. This is wonderful. Wonderful. Makes me feel so not alone. This time, I'm going to have the chat window open so that I don't have to look at my phone like a scrub. Welcome, Lee. Finally made it to one. Is that Luli or Lily? How do you say your name? You're going to have to give me instructions so I don't mess it up. Penal's here. Watch out. I might get some weird questions today if Penal's here. Lou. All right. Lou it is. Yeah. So for those who don't know about my antics coming up at Bits, I'm for charity, not just like to quell some strange desire with me. For charity, I am dressing up like Freddie Mercury to do my index session, and I have this lovely studded belt. All right, so I got that. I got my Macho Man armband. All right, like this. All right, got this going on. I have a pair of straight up dad jeans. Check these out. Straight up. Now you all know what size jeans I wear, which is maybe embarrassing too. But straight up dad jeans that I got, and of course I have the white tank top ready to go. So I have the whole thing. I even have the sneakers, but I didn't want to look like a noob because I know that like Manchester is the home of lots of people who wear and take Adidas sneakers very seriously. So I've been wearing my white Adidas Sambas, breaking them in a little bit. I don't want to look like I got fresh white Adidas Sambas stepping off into Manchester. I might get beat up. Might be some soccer fans there who just tear me a new one. So I'm getting that going. The mustache is happening. All right, gonna have that full Freddie mustache. I'm not gonna have the armpit hair. I can't do that, but everything else is good to go. Lee, I'm looking forward to seeing you at SQL Bits in Manchester. That's gonna be fun. I think I have all my material pretty well wrapped up for that. So I'm excited to deliver it finally. I also have stickers live. I mean, not really live. I think they're dead stickers. So I'll have stickers for everyone going to Bits too. So everyone will get something. Except, I don't know. Maybe not everyone. Maybe some people won't. I don't know how that works. So I don't know. Does anyone have like questions about SQL Server? What it's like to have a mustache like I don't know. I've had sort of a funny day. Actually, sort of a funny couple days. I've been let's see. Julie says, if someone can't make it to SQL Bits, how can we get a sticker? Well, Julie, I think since I recognize your name enough, if you want to either email me your address or DM me your address on Twitter, I will send you a sticker. Dan, if you want one too, let me know. Since you also recommended Sticker Mule to me, and they are awesome stickers. My original order was from a company called Sticker U, and they sent me the worst stickers that I've ever seen in my life. Like the logo is illegible and like faded looking. And like I ordered like gray, like solid gray, but it came back like I don't like spotted. It looked like TV noise. It was awful. So yeah. I might even send you more than one, since some people like to put them on their phones and laptops and foreheads and get tattoos of them. So it's all sorts of stuff that you can do with that. Now I'm putting the final touches on. Yeah, Penal will get it at SQL Bits. Penal will take the whole stack of them, and I'll finally be famous in India. But yeah, I've been putting the final touches on my demos for the indexing session, and that's going to be fun. It's gonna be interesting. And let's see. Oh, we finally have a SQL question. Lee says, how do you replicate a poorly performing query? I see many badly running queries, but replicating these on a dev environment can be difficult due to not knowing what values are being used for parameters. So you can get from the plan cache, and this is something that I wrote into SP Blitz cache if you want to use it. From the plan cache, you can get the parameters that code was initially compiled with, but you can't see what it was last run with, which is a sort of downside of dealing with the plan cache. I want to say that Grant Fritchie recently wrote a blog post about how to get that from extended events, but I would have to track it down and find it for you. But that's so if you want to just get and that's a great way to start troubleshooting parameter sniffing, right? Because especially if someone is coming to you and saying, hey, when this query is slow when I run it, then they can perhaps give you the values that it was compiled with that was slow for them, and you can compare that to what they ran it with, and you compare that to what it's compiled with in the plan cache. See, I have a question. How often does Microsoft release patches for SQL Server 2017? So I don't know because I don't work for Microsoft. If anyone from Microsoft is watching and listening and you want to give me a cool job working on SQL Server, I won't complain, but I don't know. Usually it's supposed to be every month for the first year and then quarterly every 3 months or quarterly after the first year. Whether that happens and they stick to it, I don't know. There have been some downfalls in the agility that Microsoft has tried to discover in the CU release process. Yeah, CU 13 now to do the math. Yeah, good luck on that. They say they have a new servicing model, so let's see if they stick to it, right? I guess technically, well, no. Yeah, you're right, Darren. I'm sorry. They messed up on that. I don't know. It's funny. These T-shirts always look so much cleaner, like when I'm looking at them, and then I get on camera and I just look like a mess. Let's see, Rowdy has helpfully posted a link. Let's see. Lee says, I know you briefly talked about Azure Managed Instances, but what are your experiences with them? We were seeing some real gutches at work while using them. My experience with them was when we got a preview version to play around with when I was with Brent, and I didn't do a lot. I didn't really kick the tires on it. Because we didn't have it up for very long, because those things still cost money. I think it was costing like $1,500 a month to keep it up. So we didn't keep it up very long. We just, did enough to get some initial stuff back on it. Yeah, they are expensive. But actually over on Twitter the other day, I talked to I tweeted at and got a tweet response from the PM, a guy named Jovan, and he said that they're working on something for developers that will be less expensive, so that you can kind of kick the tires and blog about them and stuff. So that'll be nice to see when it comes out, but there's nothing public on that yet. As far as but I would love to hear about the things that you ran into with managed instances, because it would be nice to have sort of I have a real world use case and this didn't work out for me sort of stuff to talk about, because right now I got nothing. even if I got a dev thing to mess with, I would put Stack Overflow on it and be like, works for me. Not run into stuff that people in the real world might have to do. They are crazy expensive though, but I think it's totally worth it. As far as being a good mix of on-prem and managed database instance, I think Microsoft hit a good mix of out of the on-prem features with the managed side of the server. See, Darren says, I would too, because I'd like to move from Azure SQL database. Yeah, I think you and you and everyone else who's on Azure SQL DB wants to move to a managed instance, because I think comparatively they are just fresh to death. Let's see. Rowdy says, a buddy familiar with AWS RDS SQL said that the community really loves it. Have you had any experience with their managed MS SQL? What do you mean? Familiar with managed instances? Let's see. Lee says we looked at SQL DBs, but the performance just wasn't there. Yeah. So I mean, there are aspects of the cloud where performance is just really tough to lock down, like storage, networking. That stuff gets crazy expensive. Like it's tough to, and it's hard to say, oh well, the cost here is totally worth it because often it's not. Often it's just like I'm getting soaked on this. Rowdy has more links. Rowdy is amazing. I hope Rowdy is always unemployed, so you can always show up and put links in chat for me. Just kidding, Rowdy. I have passed your information along to people. Let's see. SQL Dev DBA says we have a 25 gig database, a data mart that has a 39 gig log file in full recovery model. We take log backs every 5 minutes. Any thoughts? Advice you can provide? I'm not really sure why you'd want to have a data mart and full recovery model. I'm not sure that sounds like a good mix for me. Like I wouldn't expect to see like a data warehouse and full recovery model. Any advice? Geez. So is it how big? Like I guess it's you got to have some historical questions about that, right? Like was it always that big? Was there like a one-time transaction that made it that big? This is like a lot of stuff comes to mind when I'm trying to figure out like, well, like is it worth it to shrink down the log file, or am I just gonna suck it up because 39 gigs of space just isn't all that much these days? Like I can't imagine sweating 40 gigs unless I only had 20 gigs left, I guess. Let's see. Lee says, when you first started as a DBA, what did you find the most useful aspects of executions plan to learn first? Seriously need to get better at reading them, but entry is difficult. Well, for me, the hardest part was always figuring out, like, is this a good execution plan? And, I think the best way to start is like the way that you read the plan, right to left, and just ask questions to yourself about everything that happens. We start with like, how did we access the index? Was it a seek or a scan? Why was that so? Do I not have an index that I could seek into? Do I have an index that I could seek into, but I didn't for some reason? I'm doing this type of join. Why am I doing this type of join? I'm doing this type of aggregation. Why am I doing this type of aggregation? I think, the best way to learn is truly by questioning plans that you see and like learning about the different operators and why they pop up. And like over the years, it's funny because the stuff that you care about really does start flowing from right to left. So like, you go from caring about, oh, did I seek or did I scan, to, oh, what kind of join did I do, to, oh, I did a key lookup, to like, something else downstream. And then you start caring about like the weirder operators. Are like, what are these spools? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you spooling data out there? What are you doing to me? And then like, you learn about, the differences between cache plans and actual plans, where like in actual plans, you see all this new information, especially nowadays. Microsoft is just piling cool information into actual plans. Let's see. But if you want some reading material on it, Grant Fritchie keeps putting out these books about execution plans that have tons of good information in them. And, even if you don't read them front to back, even if you just say, all right, look, I want this reference material. When I come across something weird in a query plan, I'm going to go look at the book. It's totally worth it to have on your shelf for that. Grant puts a lot of work into them. Grant's a super knowledgeable guy. I think having his book on your shelf, if you're trying to learn about execution plans, is probably a really, really good idea. Let's see. SQL Dev DBA follows up with LogDB will typically be at least some size above the largest table to accommodate read. Yeah, it will. So it's going to be, I would say at least the size of that object plus 50% ish. But, again, 39 gig log file isn't isn't really going to be like my biggest concern. Yeah, I mean, unless you find yourself frequently having to restore those, but I think even then with instant file initialization turned on, the data file will go quick, and spacing out the log file will be kind of painful. But most people aren't restoring data marts. Most people are just kind of rebuilding them. Let's see. Mike Whitty says, "Yep, that's been our experience." Lee, cool, Rowdy. We do hourly imports from an Oracle database. Once you have the data imported, I mean, it's a good question. Yeah, so if you're just dumping data into the database, it might not be as big a deal as if you're, doing some aggregations or moving stuff around, or doing some kind of I don't know, what do they call it, like presentation type logic to the data once it comes in. Good question. Trying to think of some other stuff. Ben Navarro's had a pretty good book about SQL Server 2014. It's not like dated, but it's not as up to date as Grant's book is now. Then of course you could always buy my book it's like, I think it's free for Kindle users. So if you wanna just read the Kindle version of my book, you can. There's a few things about execution plans there. And also, if you're coming to my pre-con in jolly old Manchester, there'll be lots of stuff about execution plans in there. Lots of deep probing, long fingers going into query plans and saying, "What's wrong with you? Why are you doing that to me?" Let's see. SQL DB says we're not manipulating it. We have views that use the data, and we massage them with the views in order for Power BI to access them. Might have to consider putting the data mart support cover. Yeah, I would. So putting it, so just to kind of set some expectations here, putting it into simple recovery model isn't going to fix the size of the log file. It might give you a better idea of how big the log file should be, but it's not going to like magically shrink the log file for you. What I would do, so here's what I would do. I would set up a query to run and look at free space in the log file and have it run like every, have it run like every minute, because you're taking log backups every 5 minutes. I would have it run every minute and just kind of look at how log space is actually used. And it might be that, you could shrink your log file down once to like, maybe half the size and just leave it for a while and see if it grows again. Let's see. Oh, Julie posted a link and I have to okay it. It's funny, like Amazon makes me okay everything. Amazon, geez. This is an Amazon link, but YouTube makes me okay every link that comes in. Let's see. Lou says, have you tried out the Azure DevOps Studio? No, I haven't. And I know I'm probably a bad DBA for not that, but I've been really head down lately trying to, get the consulting thing rolling and trying to get all of my various presentations and whatnot lined up for future use. So I've been really trying to have not had a lot of time to experiment with new bells and whistles, but I probably should. It looks neat. I think the main drawback for me of Azure DevOps Studio, or as they call it on Twitter, ADS, is that it does not do well with execution plans right now, and that's kind of like my bread and butter. So like whenever I want to like do something like in Management Studio, there's like a 90-ish% chance that there's an execution plan involved. So I don't know. I don't know if like I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm ready to hop on that yet, because I need my execution plans, or else. I have no blog posts if I don't have execution plans. It's funny how that works. Should probably learn how to blog about other things, right? Throw some pancake. I have like pretty good recipes from getting laid off. Like now like I was like I make pancakes and French toast and all sorts of other stuff for my kid in the morning. So it's fun. It's funny to have like that kind of time on my hands. I'm just like, what shape would you like it in today? A unicorn head, of course. Let's do that. And getting like paintbrushes and little spatulas and like details. It's fun. I don't know. Maybe SQL Server isn't my calling. Maybe custom pancakes are my calling. Am I on Instagram? No, I'm not on Instagram. I am baby stepping into social media. I do not do terribly well with it. So I got on Twitter because that seemed like the easiest to manage, and I could just say things instead of always having to have a picture to go with them. But maybe Instagram is next. Maybe I should at least like parking spot my company name on Instagram. Now someone's probably gonna like hold it ransom from me. You have to pay $1 million to get Eric Darling data on Instagram. Right, he says, do vlogs from your neighborhood. So I was thinking about, like, I like at first I was like, oh, I'll do them from the gym, but then like no one wants to watch that happen. No one wants to like watch me deadlift and yell at things. There's just no audience for that. There's like 1 million people who do the exact same thing. Plus, I don't leave the house except to go to the gym. I like walk there and back, and then that's it. My favorite restaurant closed, or I would say our favorite restaurant, like the family's favorite restaurant closed. After the first of the year, the chef got a new opportunity to do like some cool thing, and they closed, and that was kind of a blessing in disguise because it saved us a ton of money. Used to eat there like twice a week. It's ridiculous. Let's see here. Any other questions? I mean, I wish I was on Instagram. I don't know. I guess the question for you, Liz, are you on Twitter? Are we friends on Twitter? Are we tweet twins? Tweets? What do we call it? I don't know. Let's see. Oh boy. Yeah. All sorts of things. All right. Let's see. Talk to us about trivial plans, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So trivial plans are a wonderful sort of optimization where SQL Server will say, I have such an obvious way of doing this one thing that I am not going to think about. Like if I thought for like as many CPU cycles as you asked me to come up with a better execution plan for this query, I likely wouldn't. The thing is that sometimes it's wrong, and sometimes trivial plans lie, because trivial plans are tied into this thing called simple parameterization, and parameterization in general can cause issues with either parameter sniffing, not using filtered indexes, stuff like that. And so when you get trivial plans, often you will get simple parameterization alongside it. It's not guaranteed, but it's in there. And there are some downsides where, sometimes there is a better plan waiting behind that trivial plan fence that you're just not finding. Trivial plans won't ask for missing indexes. Trivial plans will never go parallel. There's just stuff that you don't get from a trivial plan that you get from full optimization. Not that every query in the world needs full optimization. And it's really tough to find like when a trivial plan does better with full optimization. So it's just something that I keep an eye out for. Like if I see that a plan gets trivial optimization, I might throw a 1 = select 1 on there, get full optimization, and just see if anything changes. If not, I go about my business tuning the plan at hand. Julie says, is there any way to limit how often a SQL agent job sends a failure notification? Not that I recall. I don't know if there's a way to sort of like spoof that and like damp that down a little bit. I know that most monitoring products offer a way to sort of what do you call it? Well, Rowdy posted a link. Yep, in the link I added. Okay, cool. Oh, look there! Look at that. How can I limit the number of emails sent by SQL Server agent? I'm going to upvote that. Sweet. I'm going to upvote that answer too. That's a good answer. Thanks, Rowdy. Let's see. Lee says, we have seen cases of parameter sniffing at work. The easy fix has been to add an option recompile. Why is that a bad fix? Overhead seems minimal compared to the bad plan. If the overhead is truly minimal, then I wouldn't call it a bad fix. Usually when I'm dealing with parameter sniffing, I ask myself a few different questions. It's either like, what's the difference between the good plan and the bad plan? Like, so with the small plan, am I getting like some little like serial key lookup, like low memory plan? And when a big plan comes through, or when a big value comes through, is that just overwhelming it? And then like, what plan do I get for the big plan? Like, just look at what the differences are. because sometimes there are ways to, sometimes it's like, oh, if we have a slightly better index or a slightly different index, we can avoid parameter sniffing altogether. Other times it's like, well, maybe if I just hint to like say optimize for this value, which is a bigger value, it makes more sense. Option recompile, I dislike it, not necessarily because of like the overhead, because most of the time SQL Server coming up with a query plan is fairly easy. The reason that I dislike option recompile is that we don't have sort of any good historical information in the plan cache about what that query is up to over time. And if there's ever a problem with the plan that we get with option recompile, we don't have a good way to like sort of track that and figure it out. So it's not that I'm against option recompile all the time. I just, if you're going to use it, you need to know like that you don't have that kind of good forensic information in the plan cache anymore. So take the good plan, take the bad plan, or take the plan that's bad for some value, and just try to look at the differences. This is a good time to, I guess, if when you get Grant's book, try to like look at the operators that you're getting and try to figure out situationally why SQL Server may have chosen those operators for one plan and not for another. So it's a good bit of homework to do, is figure out why the optimizer thought, well, like figure out like look at the plan that it comes up with for the small values and be like, okay, cool, we have that. And then run it with the big value and say, okay, now it takes this long. Then recompile it and look at the big plan and say, okay, we got a totally different thing. And then it's just helpful to compare and go back and forth and look at what one does and why SQL Server was like, oh yeah, we had to do this differently because we were dealing with a way different set of data. Right. Any more questions? Any other things that we can talk about, do, yell at each other about? Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Rowdy, you might have to come up with one for me. Putting Rowdy on the spot. Mike Walsh is being funny. Mike Walsh does not like my mustache. Oh, you posted on my Twitter. Let's look at my Twitter then. Let's see what happened over there. Oh, that's you. Okay. That's why I didn't recognize you, because you are a picture of a dog over there, and you are, I think, not a picture of a dog over here. Yes, not a picture of a dog over here. So yeah, Mike, I know it's not very punk rock. The goal is not to be punk rock. The goal is to be late stage glam rock. And that's my goal, to be like we were glam and now we're getting out of glam, and we just kind of have some weird side effects happening. Let's see. Roddy says 3D printed pancakes are just as good as homemade. I've never had a 3D printed pancake. Someday I want to live in that future world where 3D printed pancakes are a thing. That sounds awesome to me. I would love to try 3D print, except steak. Steak is where I draw like biological matter is where I would draw the line on 3D printed. Come to Dallas. I was supposed to go to Dallas to do a user group thing, but I don't know. I think they found someone cooler to do it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. But we'll see. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? Let's see. Oh, a question. What's the best way to get more information? Nigel says, what's the best way? Okay, I'll do this really quick in order. So Rowdy, no, it wasn't going to be SQL Saturday in May. It was going to be like a training day type thing. But I want to say they got like Andy Leonard or something for it. I'm not sure though. Let's see. Nigel says, what's the best way to get information from deadlocks? We're having some deadlock issues, and while we use monitoring tools, they don't give us enough information. Typical scenario is one update, one select. The update is only updating one table. The other table is in the deadlock. The only clue is there is RL between the two, but the update does not involve the column. If you use the first responder kit tools, there is a stored procedure in there that I wrote called SP Blitzlock that breaks down, I think really well the information that comes out of deadlocks. If you run that, I think that often gives you better information than monitoring tools do. I think monitoring tools don't go into the depth that they should of telling you what happened. So I would start there. If it sounds like if you have a monitoring tool, they might even have a deadlock extended event session set up, and you can point SP Blitzlock at the deadlock extended event session, and you can get a ton of cool information out of that. Dan says, I think SP Blitzlock is great. And yes, it is. And I wrote that drunk on a plane, so it has to be great. So they gave you maybe way better info than Redgate. Wow. Well, you know, Redgate has never asked my opinion on deadlocks. Maybe they should. Let's see. Dan says, how do you go about determining or recommending the correct amount of RAM? I have a customer with 1 terabyte of data over multiple databases and 25 gigs of RAM in an OLTP environment. Holy smokes. Wow. So if I'm making a sort of just base out the box, you want to know how much RAM to have, I like to say 50% of your data. And that's not because I think that 50% of your data is active. Usually it's somewhere around like the 20 to 30%. But I want 50%. I want to have RAM equal to 50% of data, because caching data isn't the only thing that SQL Server does with memory. Obviously, query plans are going to ask for memory grants, and some of them are going to be pretty big. And it's going to memory that for memory grants is going to fight with memory for the buffer pool and for the plan cache. And just to be safe and say I have this much memory available to me, that's what I'm going to go with. If you want a more detailed breakdown of what you should have, I would say look at wait stats. If you're spending a lot of time waiting on memory-ish waits, and by that I mean if you're spending a lot of time waiting on disk because your active data is not in memory when you need it to be, so you're looking at like page IO latch, SH, and EX waits. Especially if storage is not responding well, like you have long average milliseconds per wait on that, then it's a pretty good sign that you might want to have some more memory in there to alleviate time that you're spending waiting on disk. Or if you're hitting some of the poison weights around memory, like resource semaphore or resource semaphore query compile, that's an even bigger argument to get some more memory in there. Because, well, that won't solve the problem 100%. Oftentimes you add more memory and you end up just giving memory grants a bigger piece of a pie, bigger pie to ask for a bigger piece of. It can solve some lower level problems with a resource semaphore. So Darren says, yes, more memory doesn't cost extra in licensing unless you need to break that magical boundary where you move to Enterprise Edition, in which case all of a sudden all your cores magically cost $5,000 more. Licensing is so funny like that, right? Like I'm holding, like, let's pretend that this